This isn't a racetrack, it's public roads, at nearly 300 kilometers an hour.
There they come across there. Oh, and that's Andrew Brady. Oh, a horrible accident.
If you miss your braking point here, you don't hit a barrier. You hit a hedge, a rock wall, or even someone's house. And every single year, riders still line up and do it anyway. So why does the most dangerous race on Earth still exist? Once upon a time, most countries decided racing on public roads was a terrible idea. Too dangerous, too loud, and occasionally involving motorcycles flying past hedges at horrifying speeds.
Oh, dear. Oh, my God. Wow. Oh, my golly.
So racing on the British mainland got shut down. But motorsport, being motorsport, immediately went looking for a loophole. And it found one, a small, self-governing island in the Irish Sea, with no national speed limits, and a population that didn't just tolerate racing, it embraced it. From the very first TT in 1907, the formula was simple. Close the roads, let the bikes loose, hope for the best. Spectators stood behind rope barriers just meters from the road, watching riders blast past like artillery shells with handlebars.
Oh, this is Paul Orrit in a big tank camper at the bottom of Bray Hill and into the bank at the side of Bray Hill, and the marshal's ducking out of the way there.
And somehow, it worked. Not because it was safe, let's be real, it absolutely wasn't, but because it was honest. By 1911, the race moved to the course that's still used today, the Schneefel Mountain Course, almost 38 miles of normal roads stitched together into one very bad idea. Towns, villages, open countryside, and one lap that now takes around 17 minutes at race pace. But one tiny mistake, that can end everything. This wasn't racing you watched from grandstands. It was racing woven straight into daily life. Shops closing for race week, locals timing their day around practice sessions, kids growing up knowing that once a year the world's fastest motorcycles would tear past their front garden. And while the rest of motorsport added gravel traps and safety barriers, the TT basically said, nah, we're good. The road stays exactly the same, raw, unforgiving, and more than ready to ruin your day. Riders don't learn this course to look smooth, they learn it to not die. There are hundreds of corners, blind crests, camber changes, sections where the bike goes light, then heavy, then light again before you even have time to blink. One moment you're flat out past hedges, the next you're hard on the brakes between people's houses. And that's the point. This race never turned into just another event on the calendar, it became a pilgrimage. Winning here isn't like winning anywhere else, it's more like summiting Everest, on two wheels, while traffic furniture tries to kill you. There's no wheel-to-wheel racing either. Riders start one at a time, every 10 seconds. No one to chase, no one to block. Just you, the road, and the clock. Which means every corner is a private negotiation with physics. And the course does not negotiate. Take Bray Hill right after the start. Flat out, downhill. Suspension fully compressed as the bike slams into a dip at over 160 miles an hour. Riders talk about the front wheel going light, then heavy, then light again, just in case you were feeling confident. Then there's Bala Bridge, a literal launch ramp. Get it right and you look like a hero. Get it wrong and you're landing sideways at speed with stone walls waiting on both sides. Villages like Kirkmichael and Glen Helen are even worse. Walls, fences, doorways, telephone poles. At the TT, that's not scenery, that's the track. Then you hit the mountain. Fog, wind, sudden temperature drops, zero reference points. Just open moorland and muscle memory while you're still doing speeds that feel completely irresponsible. What makes this course deadly isn't one corner, it's all of it. 37 miles of pure focus, lap after lap, while your body is begging you to back off. And the road does not care. It doesn't ease up. It doesn't give warnings. And when crashes happen here, they don't look like racetrack crashes. They have a certain finality to them. So at this point, a normal person would ask a very reasonable question. Why would anyone do this? And the weird answer is, it's not about adrenaline. Most TT riders don't describe it as thrill-seeking. They describe it as control, flow state, total focus, knowing every bump, every ripple, every shadow on the road. They're not chasing chaos, they're chasing perfection. And they know exactly what happens when that perfection slips. These aren't rookies who don't understand risk. These are professionals who understand it intimately, which is what makes the decision to come back every year. So hard to wrap your head around. They could race safer championships. They could make money elsewhere. But the TT isn't just a race. It's a measuring stick. If you can survive here, if you can be fast here, you belong to a very small club. And that brings us to the riders who didn't just survive it, they mastered it. And once you really understand what this road demands, once you understand how thin the line is between perfect and catastrophic, the riders stop looking brave and start looking a little bit unhinged. Because surviving here is one thing, but winning means you figured out how to dance with something that's actively trying to throw you into a wall. As brutal as this place is, it still produces kings, not champions in the usual sense, not riders who build careers on tidy circuits with generous runoff. The Isle of Man TT crowns a different kind of legend, built on memory, on repetition, on knowing exactly how far you can push, and choosing to live right there. And if you talk about TT legends, there are a few names that never leave the conversation. Joey Dunlop. In a race where just finishing the week is an achievement, Joey somehow stacked up 26 wins. But it wasn't just the number, it was the way he did it. No drama, no chest thumping, no sense that he was even trying that hard. He looked almost bored on the bike, like he was out for a relaxed Sunday ride, except that ride happened at speeds that would terrify literally anyone else. Joey wasn't reckless. He was surgical, precise, measured, cold-blooded. He proved that the TT doesn't reward chaos, it rewards control. And in a place like this, control is the rarest skill of all. Then came John McGuinness. If Joey was quiet mastery, McGuinness was controlled violence. Bigger bikes, more horsepower, and somehow the same tiny margins. 23 wins, multiple lap records, and the first rider to average over 130 miles an hour around nearly 38 miles of public roads. That sentence alone should make your palms sweat. McGuinness didn't just learn the course, he memorized it. Stuff that looks suicidal on camera was just routine for him. Corners that most riders treat with respect, he treated like warm-up exercises. Honestly, if someone told me he could ride the course blindfolded, I wouldn't even question it. And then there's Hutchinson. In 2010, he turned up and casually won 5 races in a single week. 5. Different classes, different bikes, same result. That's not dominance, that's absurd. Most riders are just trying to survive the schedule. Hutchinson was busy collecting trophies like it was a side quest. What made it even crazier is what came after. Career-threatening injuries, years of recovery, and then he comes back and wins again. Because apparently, once you understand this road, it never really lets you go.
Comes John McGuinness then, he just got the Glen Crutchery Road to take his 19th win. There, number 3 leads this race, but there goes John McGuinness. He is going to take his 20th TT win, 41st podium.
Then there's Michael Dunlop, Joey's nephew, and a constant reminder that talent in this family seems to be hereditary. Michael doesn't just race the TT, he attacks it. Multiple classes, multiple bikes, no interest in playing it safe. Year after year, he kept stacking wins until he passed Joey's all-time record. Not by being cautious, but by pushing when most riders would back off. Where others manage risk, Michael seems to negotiate with it, aggressively, and somehow it keeps working.
Michael Dunlop comes to the finishing line, the 25-year-old from Ballymoney. He's been in 5 races this week, he's won 4.
Peter Hickman represents something slightly different. Not raw aggression, not emotional riding, pure calculation. Hickman's laps look clean, almost tidy, which is a ridiculous word to use when you're averaging over 130 miles an hour on public roads. But that's his strength. He rides the course like a problem to be solved, not a monster to be survived. And when he set the outright lap record, it wasn't chaos, it was efficiency. Line after line after line, stitched together perfectly, which somehow is even scarier. And then there's Guy Martin. Never won a TT, never needed to. Because Guy represents the other side of this race, the obsession. The riders who keep coming back, not because they're chasing records, but because they can't imagine doing anything else. He became a cult hero not for winning, but for surviving, crashing, rebuilding, and returning. Over and over again. Proof that at the TT, sometimes just lining up again earns as much respect as standing on the podium. Different eras, different personalities, different riding styles, but the same pattern. They all know exactly how dangerous this is. They've seen the crashes, they've lost friends. They've stood on the grid when things felt very, very quiet, and they still come back. Not because they don't understand the risk, but because they understand it better than anyone else. Because finishing here means something. Winning here means everything, and respect at the TT isn't given. It's survived. which is why when people talk about banning this race, these are the names that always come up, not as victims, but as proof that, for some riders, this place is worth everything it asks for. So why hasn't this race been shut down? Part of the answer is simple. The island depends on it. The TT drives tourism, business, and the local economy. For many residents, it's not just an event, it's part of who they are. But the bigger reason is choice. No one is forced to race here. Every rider signs up knowing exactly what's at stake. And that doesn't make the danger okay, but it does make it honest. The TT doesn't pretend to be safe. It doesn't hide behind marketing slogans. It stands there exactly as it is and asks one brutal question. Do you still want to do this? Modern safety has improved. Medical teams, air ambulances, stricter qualifications. But the walls haven't moved, the roads are still public, and the margins are still brutally thin, which means the TT now exists in a strange middle ground, between tradition and responsibility. Changed enough to survive, but not enough to become something else. It stays dangerous, it stays honest, and every year riders still line up, knowing exactly what could happen, and choosing to go anyway. That's why it still exists. That's why it still scares people, and that's why it will always stand alone. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe, leave a comment, and check out my other videos that are more than speed.